CC Ellian, who is more than just a mark maker. I'm going to call you a mark maker rather than a calligrapher. I think that's a little more accurate.
Yeah.
But you're more than just a mark maker because you take so many elements of communication and put them into your work. You use a little bit of collage, a little bit of painting, a little bit of mark making, and out comes these incredibly beautiful pieces of work.
Well, yeah, I always wonder, how did I get here? You know, one thing leads to another.
Tell us how you got there. How did you get there?
How do I? It's and circumstances caused me to have what I call, an organic life where I'm open, let's say I'm exposed to forces that often other people aren't because they have a more conventional upbringing, whereas I've been put in places without parental supervision. And that means I have had a lot of opportunity to just be myself, for better or worse. And I can tell you there are hazards.
Definitely for better. Definitely for better.
Eventually, thank you. The longevity helped me get there. And at least I like my own company. And I think that's probably the best thing one can say about oneself.
Yeah, it's a fabulous thing to say about
in
oneself.
life. I think because everything else falls away, you lose interest in everything else, material at least, except friends, of course. But anyway, so I have become what I call, and I have really trouble defining what I am, because they say an artist, and I'm very how do I say, a stickler for the etymology of artist, which means technique. What's the technique that you have the skill for? And people say, well, Leonardo was an artist, or Michelangelo, Botticelli. One was a painter, one was a sculptor. That was what made them artists. And today, people are artists, but not always so that you can identify the skill. Sometimes the skill is just they can do very big things. They get people to help them to do huge things, which is a skill. You need wrapping buildings.
It's one of my skills, actually. I get people to help me do huge things.
Yes, I noticed that about you.
I would never describe myself as an artist, but I do have that skill.
But maybe you should, because I prefer the word creative.
Yeah.
Because if you are an artist, you're creating something. The difference between, let's say someone does calligraphy for someone else, someone requested it. Nobody asks me to do anything. Nobody says, do an artwork. I do it, and then there are venues where people are interested in things that people do because they do. They invested in what it takes. And it takes a lot to be a free-form artist, I think, because you have to support yourself. You still have to eat. You don't escape the basic laws of survival. And I think it's very difficult unless you become, you create a product. But what I insisted on for myself is absolute freedom, which means I never do anything I don't want to do in the art world and socially. And that has made it possible for me to discover vistas of activity that I had never had any idea I would be doing. And the reason that I have to thank the script, Elian script.
Right.
Which I called Elian for reasons of
and we're going to link
marketing.
So people can find it because it's so interesting.
Yeah, that's why you're even talking to me.
It is.
And that
how happened. We became friends. It made us friends, Cece.
Yeah. And because it has calligraphy inherent in it, it's a system. It's like, I think of it, and why I'm so keen to introduce it to the Western calligraphy community is because it's the jazz form of calligraphy. We all know what jazz, you go to a jazz place, you don't have the structure of a concerto or a Baroque piece or a fugue or whatever. Western calligraphy is very focused on classical things because they have very specific styles. But where is the jazz? Where's the jazz? Which every instrument that can play classical music can play jazz. So every calligrapher that does a classical style can do jazz too. But where is the medium for that? In China, they have it. They have it to the point that museums, There are beautiful museums, and they'll dedicate rooms and exhibitions to artworks that are 1,000 years old because they can be lines and dashes thanks to logograms. So I'm offering a system that is so simple. Children, I've had people come to me and tell me, oh, my son likes to do your calligraphy, and he's 12.
Yeah.
You know, and the system is simple, just like numbers are system, but math can get very complicated. And so my system can get extremely sophisticated. And because it's made of lines and dashes like logograms, so when I do an artwork, because I love text also, I include my writing system when I write, because the culture that it represents, every writing system represents a culture, has a lot more freedom of movement, and it has far fewer opportunity to be wrong. Like, you know, if you write Latin letters, if you dip below the line, that's wrong. If your letters are different proportions, that's wrong. Not so with Elian script. You decide the baselines, you decide the line lengths, you decide the proportions, and if you can make it all balanced, just like Asian calligraphy, anybody who knows the system can read it.
So when you talk about Asian calligraphy, what are the tools that you use when you do Elian script? What are your mark making tools?
My mark making tools, which I would love to show you my favorite pen because it's ages old. It's just a dip pen with a flexible tip. Winsor Newton, India ink.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I might wander into the gouache world with some red. Sometimes I'll use red, but
red is never a bad choice.
No, and it goes so well with black and white. There's actually, I didn't find it. Maybe, no, I'm using the thing that would have shown it. I got a piece coming out in Letter Arts Review annual, black and white, very grainy photo, and it has, does it have red in it? Yeah, I think it has red writing in it. It's a poem. And
lovely.
Yeah, I have high hopes that the printing, because you also have to think, how will your piece print when so many things are digitized? In the old days, there was a person looking at the outcome. They would do a test run, which is always very exciting if you ever get to see your thing printed. But nowadays, it's so computerized that it does this average thing.
Right.
Here's a tip. If you want something to be published on paper, you have to consider the translation into a digital form, digital assessment. So you can't be too nuanced.
Version of it or something.
Yeah, you can't be too nuanced, like have too many close shades, like if in dark things.
Right.
Because it will think, the computer thinks, oh, I can help this, and it does enhance. And it's like, no, when you're an artist, you do calligraphy and you choose these colors. This is just how you want it.
Yeah.
There's nothing to fix. So yeah, red is definitely something to include.
So what is your, what are you working on right now? What's exciting that you're driven by at this moment? You are in a unique space because you do create from wherever you're feeling rather than commissions, which is, a lot of calligraphers work by commission, and you have a different blessing. What are you working on that you're excited about?
Well, this is one of these new horizons. I'm actually working on a podcast called Legends of Letters, because to look at letters in terms of their personality and the forces they represent, not the meaning. Because if you're working with calligraphy, your other layer of work consists of words.
Right.
Choice. What's your selection of words? And everybody has words in them. And so the podcast is what I'm working on now.
So you're hosting that podcast.
I am host and guest.
And guest. Tell me what it's about. Sounds like when you talk about the legend of letters.
Well, for example, first you take the Latin letters. There's a whole bunch of esoteric information about letters. And I apply the spectrum. One of my alphabets is the chromatic alphabet. So you put the alphabet across the color spectrum, 26 equal wavelengths. So A is in the red zone, the dark red, and Z, or Z, if you're European, is in the indigo dark thing. So every word has a color signature, like star.
This is great.
Yeah, like stars. You see, this is what inspired me. I realized,
Please send me a
you can.
picture afterwards so I can link it in the chat for people.
Okay.
They're going to want to
Yeah,
see
it's
it.
the chromatic alphabet. I'm trying to decide if I should call it Chrome Elian or not, because I realized this. But so you do that. So A is here. So red is warm and active. And then you assign a number to it. Classic numerology, which I don't like anything, including like in graphology, saying this is good, this is bad. That's not what it's about. It's about points and relationships. For example, 1 point, which is the letter A, is the number 1. It is completely individualistic because there's no other point of reference, literally. But something like B, so you only have 9 numerals. So B is 2, and the number 2, you have a whole gamut of potential opening up: close, far, attracted, repulsed, inferior, superior. One is slow, one is fast. So if a letter like B, which has to do with collecting, you say B is for basket. Yes, it is, but not because basket starts with B, but because it's about collecting. Whereas A is the active letter. So it's a yang letter, because this sensitivity to yin and yang, in its simplest form, that spectrum, dark to light, all of life has this element, because your cup is solid, it's yang, but the opening is yin. Try pouring coffee into a completely yang cup. You won't like it. So once you start to get familiar with letters as having a personality, then you can start to see words as a collection of forces. I would have to really go into the whole thing, because I have to go through each letter. And
so is this going to be a series of 26 podcasts where you investigate a different letter every time, or?
Well, yeah, I have those. It's in the beta stage, which is one of the examples I use about the letter B, beta, which is that Greek letter, about collecting. Because at the beta stage, you're at the stage of collecting data to determine what becomes finalized. I'm still deciding whether I should do the 26 podcasts sequentially. I have it now in the beta version, or whether I should intersperse words, because each episode is going to be about a word, ultimately, using this system. If I just jump in to do the word, and then as you go along, you'll learn about the letters. You'll just have to kind of take my word for it initially that this is what this letter represents. Because I use this all the time when I'm trying to understand what should I do in a given situation, or what is a situation about. And it's, how would I say, it sounds odd at first, how something like that, which is esoteric, can be pragmatic. But once you stop having whole sentences in your mind, and you can fixate, you fix your attention, this is what the word is, the main subject. And then you get into the word, you open up space among the letters, and then you're connected to the air, I would say, because I think life is collaborative. This is what I've discovered. It's not even an idea that I'm pushing. I've just seen so many instances of synchronicity.
Magic.
And life is absolutely magic. I think it's a self-healing system, not just our cuts and bruises, but I think societies heal, people heal, relationships. But how do you get connected to this energy? How do you have this relationship be an inherent part of your life? Here I can go wax effusive. So I will just say, this is what is occupying, or let's say, this is what I'm cultivating communication about this. I mean, I wrote a book called Being the Organic Self. Where is it? I might even have it. Being the Organic Self, because I think there is such a thing, but you have to look at words differently, structurally, not belief systems, but structurally, which sounds very technical, except that today's young people, they're very used to structural, technical explanations for things. Software, their phone, how do you do this? How do you do that? They look at instructions. So young people get this, that life is not something that you can have a belief system and they work. But if you don't have one, but you want to sort of have a manual, human being, the manual, there is a conceptual relationship that involves language that you can have with life through your thoughts, your inner studio. And from that, you find guidance and you find intuition and so on and so forth. And I would just say, to wrap it up, whereas in the Asian logograms, you have this calligraphy, because the gestalt of a logogram, an abstract drawing, represents an awareness and sensitivity to the environment, the community. There's a I would say Elian script has this gestalt and holistic, but it's westernized. See, I can offer a holistic culture, but it's geared to the individual.
Right.
The Asian is geared to the group, and mine is geared to the individual. It's just the logical extension of that.
There's just so many places to go with that. When is your podcast going to be out? Like, now I'm dying to see it.
No pressure. I will let you know, but I do everything. This moving thing has completely kerfuffled me. I mean,
moving is honestly the worst thing in the world that we do to ourselves.
You're uprooted, and it doesn't help that the landlady is uprooting her plants as well, because I'm seeing these symbols of uprooting going. But
so are you looking to be rooted, or do you think that this moment of being uprooted is its own sort of power in your life?
I'm a willing uprootee. I'm willing to
like
be
uprooted. You move frequently, more than me, but does that well, I guess it just gives you so many different perspectives, doesn't it, to take into your art and your other kinds of communication. It keeps you from being trapped thinking about the same things over and over again, I think, when you uproot.
Yeah, I understand the process. It has to be, there's nothing, and I had this dream. My dreams have been very vivid and really very touching, kind of reassuring. And not just 2 days ago, I had this dream that I had come back to this house with many rooms and everything was empty, but it was immaculate, except just an object, a red object here, a blue object there, like very, if Mondrian inhabited a very big house with no furniture, just this touch of color. But it was just, imagine, at first I thought, well, did everybody come and steal something? I go, no, they wouldn't leave it so clean. And it was like telling, people don't come in and take your stuff, repaint your house and put very delicate touches of color for your enjoyment. I thought, yeah, everything is as it should be. Everything is empty and it's left in good condition. So I'm thinking I've been cooperating in an optimal way. I like to think. I mean,
with whatever's coming in next into your.
I think I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Because I've had so many adventures and made the mistakes of every feral child. And I always, how would I say, learn and things get better. So this has been a pretty good setup. So I can only imagine the next chapter is going to be even better.
I love that. I love that sentiment of learning like every feral child. I think we sometimes want our children to be so well behaved that the adventures that they have that teach them lessons along the way don't happen.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to take, risk creating anything, calligraphy, whether you're doing, the more investment a thing requires, the bigger the risk, because you say you do an illuminated manuscript and you've done 10 pages, gold leaf, gouache, Carolingian columns, drawings, and you don't want anything to spoil that.
Right.
You make a mistake with a bottle of ink, splash, oops, it's all that work is gone. But sometimes that's a good thing and you don't know why. I think you have to accept mistakes and even things not working out. If you're using too much force, you're going in the wrong direction. You don't know why, or somewhere down the line it was a good thing that you couldn't do something or you didn't succeed. I've learned to use minimal force. Like If a website doesn't work after a few attempts, I realize, oh, I shouldn't be buying this. And I don't try it. I don't try anymore. Or I try to call somebody and they don't respond. I don't keep trying. You just do just enough to be sincere.
Yeah.
You're not forcing.
You're beating your head against a wall.
No, that's never a good thing, because life is a better coordinator and collaborator than we are on our own. I think so. Life makes, I could.
So I'm reading Big Magic right now by Elizabeth Gilbert. Have you ever read it?
Mm-mm.
I've never read anything she's ever written before. I've not read Eat, Pray, Love. I've not read anything else.
What is the name? Here, let me write it down.
Yeah, it's called Big Magic. And if you read it this week, next week we're doing a book club with it. So one of the things that I wanted to do was have a creative person's book club, where people that were into creative things read books that supported that, and then we have a book club.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was looking for a good book to do next, I came across Big Magic. And one of the things she talks about is that magic of synchronicity, that magic of how the universe is our collaborator in things.
Yeah.
It's not a new thought to me, but reading it, and especially reading it knowing that I have to lead a discussion about it, changes your focus. It makes your lens just a little more clear. And it's such an evasive thought in my mind right now about how this universe that we live in can be such just an incredible partner. And I will tell you that this week has been so full of examples of that. It's amazing. I think of something and something comes along. It's been that way all week.
I actually believe it, and I think it needs to be, in fairness, if this is really a beautiful world, we need all the help we can get as humans, and that collaboration, which is making manifest a certain life for oneself, for others to a certain extent, but you don't want to be interfering with others. You find the right people with whom you harmonize, resonate with. I think that's how the world, if I may use the word, should be. Why wouldn't it be if it's really a compassionate
and here's
universe?
another way to think about this too, that it's always, so I used to be a massage therapist, and one of the things that I used to believe when I worked on somebody is either you're in tune with them or you're not. And if you're not in tune with them, sometimes you shouldn't touch them at all. Mm-hmm. But also the people that you are in tune with, we're tuned to a different note frequently throughout our lives. And so the people we vibrate well with, and when you go to the symphony and at the start, they play an instrument and everything that's in tune with that vibrates.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's called entrainment. I'm not a hugely musical person, but I kind of love that moment. When you get there a little bit early and you're there for the tuning of the instruments, it's a moment I just really like. And I feel like that with people through life, that sometimes I'm tuned to an A, let's say, and then different people vibrate with me. And sometimes I'm at a higher level and different people will vibrate to me. And it's this sort of magic, what we bring into our lives, depending on what we're tuned to.
I think so. I mean, we're lucky, when I think about how many people in the world, out of all the people, are really able to have a life of creativity and freedom and self-actualization.
Yeah.
And it's really not that many, not if you do the math, because many societies don't allow that. But I think what you're talking about, this discovery of collaboration with the universe, of attunement, of not forcing, like an Aikido, that art Aikido where you're moving the energy around you. You don't have to confront it. I think that is the high point of human existence. That's where it's headed, because the potential is there in everyone. Everyone can self-actualize, not as the person, not me, CC Ellian, oh, I'm self-actualized, but no, the human being that has the identity of CC Ellian to manage, and which can transcend that identity, that being, that self-consciousness of being can self-actualize. And when you do that, you have the synchronicity, you have intuition, you have guidance, you have luck, you have things falling out of the blue, just what you need. I cannot tell you how many times in my, because I always had to live like on a shoestring as an artist because I always had a day job, which could not be executive. I've had executive, like managing restaurants or managing an office. You can't do it 9 to 5 because your mind is always working. You're responsible. So I always had jobs that I could quit at 9 to 5. So I would
So when you
live on
went
a
home,
shoestring.
you were done. They didn't like.
You didn't? No, I've quit jobs, managerial jobs, because I actually did. It's been a sociological experience working in different. The only thing I can't do is sales because I feel duty bound to tell somebody where they could get it for less or to tip this. It's like I'm hopeless. But I would go into like a thrift store and get everything I need at that moment. The tables, the chairs, the lights, everything. It's happened several times. It is not limited to the US. When I came to Switzerland, I was renting this apartment and I found everything. I still use it to this day. And it's like, it's just, and you would go, oh, how does that happen? How do things move around? How did that chair or table find me at the thrift store? I think it's because life is basically a conceptual event, like a dream. But it's this very stable dream and it has real rules for the most part, except at the very deep levels, which quantum physics shows you, because you have things that can be in the yes, on, off, and maybe on or off state at the same time. Until you observe it, then they call it collapses. And I'm probably doing a shoddy job of explaining quantum physics in 2 sentences, but it collapses into something concrete. And I think that's the same with our thoughts. If we focus too much on misfortune, on worry, on imagining scenarios, we're gathering that information. Whereas once we realize, oh, I've got a worry going on, we go, what's the outcome I would like? And then I imagine myself going, oh, I'm so glad that that bill got paid, or I'm so glad that you're well, or I'm so glad that I can take this trip, or because that's a truth. You see, you're not fantasizing, you would be happy. So that's why I think it's work. Because it is a kind of a dream, but it has very strict rules, unlike our nighttime dreams, which is another story.
Have no rules whatsoever, I don't think.
No,
Recognizable rules for me.
it's that tuning you're talking about at the orchestra. Like
Right.
at night we tune ourselves and it's like whatever our synapses are configured, we put them together.
In a whole different way.
Yeah.
I always love talking to you. At some point, we're going to be in the same place at the same time and we're going to sit down and have a glass of wine. But in the meantime, tell me about something that really, as we wind up, something fabulous that's happened to you this week or recently.
What can I say?
Or even just this, learning to work like the Japanese. That is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, that is like a whole new, I mean, I can show you in the camera, like, look at the shelves, they're empty.
Yeah.
They're empty, but I realize I love working this way. Just having it be the stillness of a clean space. And something that I learned that was very wonderful. It's called, what's it called? Embodied cognition.
Tell me what that means.
Enclosed cognition. And what it is, and I think there's a use for it in the calligraphy community. Like if I was doing Spencerian, it means the clothing you wear enhances the function associated with the clothing. Like when people wear white lab coats, they're much more detached in analyzing information. They've done tests. So I imagine if I was going to do like Spencerian script or Carolingian script, I would wear clothing of the time. I would have a candle somewhere with have the light low and have some kind of an outfit that puts me into that time zone when
Right.
people did use that writing system. That I thought that was actually was very excited about it in terms of if I were doing calligraphy of a certain kind, I would certainly do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can research enclosed cognition.
Enclosed cognition. I am going to look that up. Well, Cece, this is, as always, a fascinating conversation. I always learn something every flippin' time I talk to you. Often more than one thing, which makes it.
I appreciate it because I always wonder, in the calligraphy community, I think my script is what places me there.
Yeah.
But at the root of the script is this culture, and the culture is these kinds of things that I think about on a regular basis. Can't help myself.
Well, you always bring something to the table that is a little bit outside the ordinary. I love the idea of the colors and letters, and I'm super excited to see your podcast when it starts to come out.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'll let you know. I want it to be good. So, and in the midst of moving, it's been challenging, but it's always running around, in the background.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Thank you so much, Jill. And if anybody's listening, I always appreciate people's time and their willingness.
And as soon as you are ready to put out your podcast, let me know, because I will put a link in the comments underneath this podcast so people can find your podcast. And we'll send out an email and let people know when your podcast is coming out and where to find it.
Thanks, and I'm hoping to have it done, like before September, the summer, when I'll be more stabilized and moved. I will be moved.
Yeah. Well, good luck with your move. That is a very big job.
Yeah, it is, but I'm taking rest periods.
Perfect.
Of necessity.
Okay. Thank you so much again for your time. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And we will talk again very soon.
Thanks, Jill. I appreciate your time too.